You just don't want to miss out on
anything potential.
Anything at all.
I might be funny right now, and I want to capture that because I don't know how funny I can be for the whole podcast. And usually I'm not that funny. I usually have only certain snippets, and hopefully I catch that snippet. Welcome to Thank You for Your Attention. This week's episode, we have Noah Boyd with us, the excellent Noah Boyd. He's a coach and consultant with his company Resonance, where he inspires authenticity. You can find him at resonance.nb is his handle for Instagram. Noah and I both met at Claremont Graduate University, where we're both studying to get our Ph.D. in psychology. We also were on a improv comedy team called Ph.D. Pure Human Debauchery, that is. We also were in a men's group together. So we were in lots of different groups together. Lots of different groups. He's a great person. He's a good soul. We explore a bit on fear, creating morning habits. We get silly with it in the middle. So you'll see a different side going on. We get real goofy, which I love when that happens. And we discuss the art of playfulness and seriousness, how those two things work together. Lots of weird, awkward moments. It's kind of fun. Hope you enjoy it. And as always, we're sponsored by Larry H. Parker. That's Southern California's #1 automobile accident law firm. They've been successful in 95% of their cases. They'll fight for you.
We'll fight for you.
Hablamos español.
And enjoy the episode. There we go. That's it. Enjoy the episode, I guess. It's short and simple. Short and simple.
How great would that be, though?
It'd be awesome.
That would be fantastic. That would be so good.
So let's just dive in, I guess.
Great.
Let's
I'm
just
not much of
dive
a
in.
swimmer, but I love water. So
You don't swim.
I'm not much of a swimmer, but I do love water.
Weren't you kind of afraid of swimming or something?
Afraid of water, yeah. Well, ultimately afraid of drowning. And so that translated out into like discomfort being in water or being in too deep, or especially the ocean because of waves. They're very hard to fight against.
Nature is powerful. Why are you afraid? Where does that come from?
It comes, well, the immediate answer is that it comes from almost drowning 3 different times. So 3 very different times, completely unrelated to each other, years apart, which, is 1 time is bad enough on the nervous system, but 3 times is just feeding this complex narrative of like, I'm a bad swimmer, I can't swim, I'm gonna drown. Like, and I think there's a part of it too that dates back to when I was born, that I wasn't breathing. And so my whole life I've had some kind of fear experience around breathing, about, not being able to breathe. And then having experienced that, not being able to breathe or breathing in water is, it triggers that. And so I've got to a point now where, for instance, the last time that I found myself in a near drowning experience, mentally, I was telling myself, okay, I just need to be calm. I need to raise my hand for a lifeguard and like make some noise so they know that I need help, and then just slowly make my way back to shore. Like, keep calm, this is fine. Mentally, I was there, but my nervous system was immediately triggered and my body started to go, I was hyperventilating. I was seizing up a little bit, even though mentally I was completely straight. And I was telling my body, calm down. I need you to calm down. It wouldn't calm down. My nervous system was taking over. And so that's where that stands right now. I still try to swim when I can. I like to swim in the bay where it's not as wavy, not as difficult to get across, because then it helps to build my literal swimming muscles as well as my mental muscles around like, this is okay, water's okay, go to the edge of my boundary, push it a little bit, come back to shore.
That's a good suggestion for anyone who's trying to overcome a fear, is go to your boundary. And the boundary could be anything. It could be literally putting
Hmm.
your toes in and then escalating that slowly.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. I agree with the slow escalation. I mean, I guess there's something to be said about exposure therapy. It's had a lot of great successes. So says the research. Um, Having people stand at the top of a very tall building and look over the edge to get over a fear of heights, that's kind of insane. Honestly, it's really intense, and it can be the way to get past this thing, right? To have that plus resources and maybe a support system or individual there to say, hey, you're okay, right? And to see that, to be in that. But I think that it's not the only method. And I really like the slow and steady method of just pushing the boundary a little bit at a time.
You're somebody who loves to overcome fears.
Having overcome some fears, I do love it.
You love it. You love
I
it.
really do.
You love it. Why should we do it? Shouldn't fears just be fears? Like, okay, I don't like
Mm,
X. Like,
mm,
okay, that's maybe a
mm,
sign that I shouldn't go near X,
mm,
or it's a sign of appropriate nervous system functioning to be afraid of something. Should we always be overcoming our fears?
mm. I really like this question. These are questions I constantly ask myself. Is it better or worse to do this thing or not? Right. And I I think that the answer, should we constantly be overcoming our fears, really comes down to what we hope to gain from conquering those fears. And so having a fear of drowning, for instance, can be very, very limiting. It'll keep me away from water, keep me away from water sports, keep me away from swimming, keeping me away from a whole host of activities that can be done on, near, or around water. And there's millions of other things I could be doing. And so I could live with that fear and just stay away from water and be totally content with my life. Totally content knowing that I am, in fact, limiting my life in some way or another. Now, if I spend my life in and around water constantly, yeah, maybe I'm limiting myself from other experiences, but not perhaps out of a fear base. So for me, there's one aspect of it in wanting a sense of freedom, of delimitation. And then there's, in overcoming a fear and letting go of the fear, for me, I begin also to let go of the stories associated with that fear, the stories about my identity as an individual. That might be that I'm a bad swimmer, or that, I just don't know how to breathe, or whatever that story might be, which then can translate into other aspects of my life that are not even related to swimming. Simply because I now am cultivating a nasty voice in my head that says, you're bad at this, don't do this. Instead, I could never step foot into water, but instead of fearing it, look at it and say, I respect that thing. That thing has the potential to drown me. And I understand my strengths here. I understand that if I want to grow beyond them, I'm going to have to put in time and effort and learn how to swim better, and learn how to breathe better, and move beyond the nervous system triggers around drowning that I have. Uh, Not sure where I'm going with this answer anymore. I'm just going now. Yeah.
There is something about respecting fear and saying, acknowledging that something could harm us. And then there's also this action of reacting to fear,
Mm,
and not only in an avoidant manner,
mm-hmm,
but also in an engagement.
mm.
I can fear the water of during a hurricane, and I can learn to engage with the fear of water in a lake, in a small
Mm,
pond,
mm,
in a glass of water.
mm,
You know, and it's not that you're afraid of water in a cup, just large amounts of it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so, yeah, there's an engagement factor to it. that I think can be beneficial to us in a
Yeah.
self-development way? Question mark. Right? Because
Um,
overcoming fear always comes back to like self-development or
mhm,
developing the self or growing.
mhm.
This interest in growing. I want to grow a lot. It's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Self-help is a big thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, growth. I mean, I guess it's not good to just be stagnant all the time, but also it's kind of fun. It's nice. It's like I know
Mm.
what I like, but
It's
there is something
comfortable.
nice about growing, right? Can you
Mm.
speak on like why grow?
Why grow?
Why
Yeah.
grow?
Why
I'm
grow?
dealing with the fundamentals here, right?
Mm.
Today, I guess.
Mm. Yeah. Why grow? It's a choice, really. I mean, like, why grow is a great question. Why not just sit here comfortably in my comfort zone, and be a stagnant cesspool for mosquitoes to breed in, and allow life to simply move around me? Why not? What value judgment is there to really place on that? It is a way of being, and there's nothing greater or less for it being that way. Growth is a personal choice, and so each individual should answer that question, I think, separately. And I think it's a great question. Why grow? Why will I grow? Why do I decide to grow?
Is there no
Uh,
objectivity to growth? Is there no objective value for someone to participate in self-development behaviors?
mm, I I have a hard time accepting that most things are objective in any way. Um, I think that most of our experience is quite subjective, if not entirely subjective. Um, so then, for me, growth feeds my values, right? That I value learning, I value curiosity, I value adventure and exploration. And in order to do those things, I need to step outside of what I already know. I need to step outside of who I already am. Therefore, I need to grow. And part of that is stepping outside of the comfort zone, being a little uncomfortable, but then finding that sense of growth along the way. And I also have been, since we're talking about growth, I've been leaning into this idea that uh, growth for the sake of growth is just the ideology of the cancer cell. And so I lean more towards what I call growth with intention, right? Looking at why grow? Why do I want to grow? Why do I want to grow in this specific way? Right.
Yeah, so you're really trying to emphasize the values.
Right.
People we
Well,
don't think about our values,
hmm,
but I mean, values are not something that I can cognitively choose. Sometimes they're very emotionally based. I feel like,
hmm,
and
hmm,
so, but it is good to at least acknowledge them because underneath all action, there is a value that we have or don't realize, and it's good to at least become conscious of them.
hmm, hmm.
Values drive action.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Values drive action. And oftentimes those values are related to early life experiences, which are quite often emotionally charged experiences. Um, and over the course of our lives, we play out those values by seeking certain experiences or by acting in certain ways, by upholding certain belief systems. Whether or not we realize all of these things are just us pursuing or giving life to some value that was instilled in us via whatever experiences of our youth.
So let's draw it back because we love to go into the sky right here.
Love it.
We're
Oh yeah.
up in the sky. We're in a
Yeah.
hot air balloon right
Big
now.
cloud energy.
Big cloud energy.
Yeah.
Change with intention. Growth with intention.
Mm-hmm.
So how does one? Let's say someone. Let's pick up a stereotypical person who browses the self-help literature, loves reading that kind of stuff, enjoys self-development
Mm-hmm.
um, in the most classic way without thinking about intention.
Mm-hmm.
What would be like the first thing that you would maybe guide them through as a coach to help them incorporate intention a bit more into the things that they do in the day that they believe help them grow?
Mm. The first thing I do with anybody is ask, what are you trying to do? And then why? It's as simple as that, really, that maybe my, everyday thing I want to do is just drink enough water. Maybe I just want to wake up at 6, it doesn't have to be this crazy, there you go. It doesn't have to be this, crazy, huge goal that you're pursuing. You might have something very simple. And I say, why? Then whatever the reason is can come out. And then that can, it can be as simple as that. That's your intention for what you're doing. You don't have to wake up every single morning and remind yourself, I'm drinking this much water because of X, Y, Z intention, right? You've said it, you've put it out there, and now simply drink your water. But in a deeper sense, what I often do is, after I've asked why you're trying to do this, I'll ask again, okay, but why is that the reason you're trying to do this? But why are you applying this experience to your modern day goals here? But why is that experience so important to you? And I continue to ask why and why and why. And usually what I end up finding is some experience from somebody's childhood, or at least their younger life, which has fed some value that they now have. And ultimately, the reason why they're trying to grow in this way is because they have a value that they might not have realized. And so it's an interesting game to play, because intention feels very free will, choice, directional.
Right.
But if I kind of why question you all the way back down to a base value, and I can point out that value for you, and you understand that the reason you want to drink this much water a day is because of a value you have that you've had since you were 10 years old, then you don't have to be intentional about it anymore. You can simply know that you are living out that value. And maybe that's your intention, right? To live out that value. And part of living out that value is drinking this much water a day.
Mm-hmm. A lot of this sounds like you're trying to free up mental energy, or free up physical or willpower, to just kind of make things a little more effortless.
I love
Like
that.
the classic view of self-help or self-development is that are
Mm,
very effortful. It's like, pick up myself, like I'm going to wake up, set my alarm, and will myself into my running shoes and go run.
mm, mm,
And the lack of hitting that goal is only due to my inability to implement my willpower, to like get myself to finally just do it.
mm,
Um, so it goes both ways, right? Like, one, the reason why I'm able to do it is because I can drive myself. The reason why I can't do right now is because I just can't drive myself.
mm.
And it sounds like you're proposing this different idea where rather look at what are the things you do that are effortless, and how to apply that to other areas.
Yeah, I really love the way you've just framed that. And, it's, to me, it is a balance between effort and effortlessness. It's putting in effort where you need to, and then softening everywhere around that effort, right? That if I have a hard time waking up at 6:30 every morning, but I want to now suddenly wake up at 6, I have to put in a little effort. I have to reset my alarm and maybe go to bed a little bit earlier and stop drinking caffeine by noon every day. But that's my little bit of effort. But then I don't need to suddenly rearrange my entire life in order to make this happen, because it's not my entire life that's causing me to stay up late, or my entire life that's causing me to sleep in a little later. And so there is a balance point there of putting in just enough effort, but not too much effort, not overextending myself for something simple, finding the easiest way to do what it is I'm trying to do, the path of least resistance, in a sense, accepting that least resistance does not mean no resistance. And some resistance can be good for inherently causing some growth along the way, whether or not we meant to do it in the first place, simply because little obstacles get us to activate our senses of values and find ways to problem solve to get beyond these things.
So let's ground this in an example. What's
Hmm.
one of your favorite daily habits. And let's
Mm,
break apart the effortless, resistance, less resistance
mm,
dimension of this daily habit and the origin. When did it start? When did it begin?
mm, mm. Nice. One of my favorite daily habits is I after I meditate, I'll open up my notebook and I will start with writing, I am grateful for, and then I just fill up that page with things that I'm grateful for. And
When do you do this?
in the morning, this is,
More
yeah.
specific.
This happens after I have drank between 24 and 48 ounces of water, after I have taken a shower, and after I've meditated. So it's usually somewhere between 7 and 7:30 in the morning that I do my gratitude journaling.
Okay, within an hour of waking up.
Within an hour or an hour and a half of
Okay.
waking up.
I love the specificity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Specificity.
the specificity. Mm-hmm.
That one.
Yeah. Yes. Now there is some amount of effort in this, right? In that I am writing these things down, and sometimes I have to think, well, what's something that I'm grateful for? And I also try not to repeat entries day in and day out.
Classic. Now define gratitude.
Define gratitude.
Yeah, that's an important one to define.
Great.
I love defining things. I think defining things are very important.
Mm,
Come at me. I think it's very important to define things.
yeah,
Very important. So define gratitude.
this is interesting. I think of the definition in terms of the way it feels. So let me try to experience that and to feel it. For me, gratitude is an elevated emotional state that comes from my heart space. And it is a state of openness, a state of receiving. Um, there it is. When I experience gratitude, it coincides with the experience of joy. Um, and what's the goal of this journaling for me is to cultivate like a grateful state, the experience of gratitude. Not to simply write, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, yada, 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 aimlessly, but to actually cultivate this higher positive emotional state. Um, I'm not sure if that fully defines it.
Why do you not repeat items?
Why do I not repeat items? Mm, I don't repeat items in order to get myself to think a little bit, to feel a little bit, instead of just writing the same thing down every day to the point at which I'm not really being grateful for it. I'm just, from rote memory, repeating what's in my system. At that point, I become automatic. I become robotic. And now I've moved below the point of my exercise.
And we don't
And
want to
so
be robotic.
I don't want to be robotic.
No, no.
No.
People shouldn't be. Again, objective claim.
Objective claim. I think that I'm not in favor of being robotic. However, I can get in line with being automatic. Now, that's an interesting distinction, right? Robotic would be mindless. Robotic would be I open the page and I just start writing, and I'm not even present for my experience. I could let my hand go while my mind is thinking about what's for breakfast or what I have to do tomorrow, or what my friend said to me last night. And so I'm kind of being a robot. I'm letting my body robotically maneuver the page. But to be automatic would be like slipping into a comfortable set of clothes, right? That I know when I put my running shoes on, I'm going to go running and I don't have to think about it. I can just be in the experience of it. The difference between a robot and an automatic experience is in the robotic experience, and my understanding of it is not being present with that experience, but letting the computer monkey mind take over, versus an automatic experience where I say, I'm doing gratitude journaling now, and everything else moves away. And I automatically move into this present tense state where I'm solely gratitude journaling.
Mm-hmm. Something that I've noticed is that you talked about your morning habit of like drinking water. meditating. Boom, 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 boom. A lot of little little activities.
Mm.
Something that I'm kind of against right now is spending time like 10 minutes on journaling, 10 minutes on gratitude, 10 minutes on meditation. I'm trying to elongate my activities so that I
Mm.
spend, an hour in yoga,
Mm.
or I spend an hour walking. I want to
Mhm.
have very long activities, because when I do spend only 10 minutes in gratitude, it becomes, first off, just a checklist item.
Mhm.
Second, I don't feel it as much. Becomes more of a I just don't
Mhm.
feel it, as whereas these elongated activities, I can really fully immerse myself into it
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
lose track of time, flow, hashtag Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. We
Mhm.
know that. Um, so yeah, is there, tell me the value about doing these quick hitting activities?
Well,
Convince me.
sure. Well, you've kind of convinced yourself here. I don't time myself ever for any of these things. At the moment that you quantify the experience, you've taken it outside of itself, right?
Do you own a watch?
You, huh?
Do you own a watch?
I own a watch. It lives in a box in a closet. I don't wear it.
You don't wear it.
I don't wear it.
You don't wear it. How often do you check a clock?
Um, it depends on if I have something scheduled for that day and I need to make sure that I'm on time for it. If I don't have anything scheduled in a given day, um, I check the clock not very often. I don't know, a few times before yoga because that is at a set time every day.
Yeah. Do you know what time it is right now? You don't need to tell it. No, you don't need to say it out loud.
Oh no, I mean I can make a guess, but no, I
Sure.
don't know what time it is.
Sure, make a guess, but we won't tell the audience if it was
Sure,
right or wrong.
sure.
You know.
I think it feels like 3:23 in the afternoon.
Huh. Huh. Hmm. Check my Patreon site to find out what was the actual time. I don't have a Patreon. You're not too far off.
Mm.
You're not too far off. Yeah. So I think, I mean, when I'm on vacation
Mm-hmm.
and I don't check a watch or a phone or anything, it feels like the day's longer.
Yeah.
And when I check my phone, my calendar, the watch more often, the day shrinks.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it's again, I'd say that's a matter of removing yourself from the quality of your experience and stepping towards the quantity of your experience.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I just need to interrupt briefly. Are
Yeah.
you drinking matcha
Oh,
right now?
oh, this? Yeah, this is matcha.
Wow. I not only love that
Mm.
mug, but love that you are
Yeah.
still on the matcha train right now.
Made the mug.
Mm.
Did not make the matcha. The matcha, thank you for asking, by the way.
Absolutely.
The matcha comes from this company, Purechimp Matcha Green Tea.
Wow. Wow. Can
Five
you
per
bring
five
that back just a
percent,
little bit?
5% of the profits go to charity.
Specially grown green tea leaves ground into a fine powder. You said 5% of Pure Chimp matcha green tea profits go
To
to
charity.
charity.
It's fantastic.
That's
This is
beautiful.
actually the
That's beautiful.
first time that I've tried it, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little wired.
Yeah.
You
But
can sense it.
also, there's also the L-theanine calm that comes with green tea, the centered focus, but you're definitely
Balanced.
activated.
I'm activated and I'm balanced.
Mm.
I gave up coffee a while ago for
Mm.
multiple reasons.
Mhm.
Well, future podcasts will go over that.
Sure.
But I still love that zing.
Mm.
And this stuff, pure chimp matcha green tea, is lovely, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for asking about matcha. You know, that's the thing that we need to do more often.
Mm.
Ask each other about our things.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I really appreciate you telling me about your Pure Chimp matcha green tea. Before we move on, honestly, because I'm a purveyor of matcha, I really love good, high quality matcha, and I know that that's something that we have had in common. So, what's the flavor like? I mean, sell me on it.
Smooth. It's smooth. It's rich. It's slightly green tea, but really not that much green tea flavor.
Okay.
It's smooth. Yeah, yeah,
I love that. I
yeah.
really.
It's less earthy, I would
Mm.
say,
Oh, okay.
and more, more smooth zing. I'm
All
gonna
right.
use zing as not only an effect that I feel, but also as a flavor.
I love it. I love that.
Don't be confused with zest, which is a fruitful flavor.
Mm.
I would still say that an effect of this matcha is fruitful. I
Mm.
feel fruitful,
Mm.
but it's not a flavor.
Wow.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. Check it out.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
I will.
check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, check it out.
Mm.
Mm. We like matcha. We like matcha together. You know, some of my fondest memories um pre-COVID, like the space between regular life and when COVID started, pandemic started, there's like a space where like there's all these memories of like
Mm.
what life could have been if the pandemic didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like there's a little space where like I feel like everyone was going through something right before the pandemic was going through.
Mm.
Everyone was anticipating something to happen in their life.
Mm.
For me, I moved to the beach area, apartment by myself, and I was like, "Ooh, this life was beginning."
Mm-hmm.
Other people, they're making drastic career decisions, all these things. So one of my favorite memories of right before the pandemic was we used to carpool to go
Yeah.
over to our university and drink matcha in the car. Yes, it was beautiful times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
did
really
you
love.
like that at all? Am I the only one? Is this a one-sided enjoyment?
No, actually, this is in fact a mutual enjoyment. Although I might argue that I liked it more than you
No, I liked
at
it
the
more.
time.
No,
Um,
I liked it more.
yeah, and that would explain why I would put more matcha in my cup.
Hmm.
Or sometimes I would even drink my matcha in the morning, and then when I made it to your house, have a second cup
Yeah.
with you just for the ride. That's how much I loved matcha
Same.
talks on
I want to
on
make
our way.
for the record, I did the same thing. I just want to make sure that's in the record. It's known. It's in the podcast. It's being recorded. I did the same thing. I would drink a second cup. At times, I would even put more in when you got there because I was having such a fun time. So I just want to make sure that's on the record. Sometimes I would drink this, at least the same amount as you, if not more matcha than you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you definitely drank too much matcha a few times, and so
Well,
I'd say that you took the experience beyond
uh,
enjoyment into obsession, and that was,
oh,
that's it's a little unhealthy at times.
don't
But
say that
there
now.
were so many good qualities about the experience that I didn't want to completely, just remove you from that. But no, I
It was
really
the right
loved
amount. It
how
was the right amount.
obsessed you were, despite the fact that I was definitely enjoying myself much, much more.
It was the right amount of matcha. I'm balanced. I'm balanced. It was never overboard. It was the right amount. I said I drink a lot, but I can also handle more than you.
Oh, that's a really interesting perspective to take towards it. Yeah, I mean, it's okay if you don't respect your boundaries. And I hope that over time that you learn to do that with matcha and in general in life.
I respect boundaries. I respect boundaries. I'm a respectful man. I'm a respectful man. Notice I said not boy. I'm a man. Just want to make sure. I don't need to make that a point though. I don't need to make that a point now. Just gonna say I respect your
It's too late. It's
boundaries.
on the record. It's on the podcast.
I'm gonna edit that out. I can edit whatever I want out of this podcast. No, I probably won't edit anything out, to be honest. Yeah. I'm not going to edit anything out,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, that's the beauty of matcha talks, is that there's no need to edit.
Yeah, well, we can say this is a matcha talk. I mean, even though you had espresso, I had matcha. We can say this is a matcha talk at least I think what constitutes a matcha talk is at least one person has to have matcha. I was about to go too quickly there, but I slowed down. This matcha has a good amount of caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
Good, yeah, it's
Well,
good.
since we literally talked about matcha, I figured what better thing to constitute a matcha talk?
Yeah. Yeah, we're literally talking about it.
We're literally talking about it. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's what it be. That's what would it be. That's what it'd be. Here's another question that I have for you.
Okay.
And I'm interested in this answer. What habit are you trying to integrate that you aren't doing successfully?
What habit am I trying to integrate that I'm not doing successfully?
And you could say none. You could say that you are living the way. You are Winnie the Pooh. Because Winnie the Pooh does nothing wrong. We know this. We have a mutual love for Winnie the Pooh, I think. He does nothing wrong.
I like him, yes.
Not that he's like doing everything right either, but that he is
No, but he's doing
doing
everything his way.
He's doing everything
Yes.
the way.
Yes. He is fully, yeah, he is a fully realized Pooh Bear.
And I feel like you're approaching that. And I'm wondering if you do have any sort of things that you're like trying to achieve in your repertoire of cool things you do. Because you're such a cool guy.
For sure. What am I trying to do right now? Right now, I'm trying to build a habit of creating playfully every day. And that can be creating an in the moment song on piano or just like singing. That could be something, like traditional art creativity via painting or, chalk writing or making poems or whatever that is. That can also be creating a post for my business page. That could be creating a resource for my work. That could be even creating clean data for my research, right? And now that's an interesting one, right? Because that doesn't seem very fun, but to create playfully doesn't mean the thing that I'm doing has to be a game or some fun creative project. It just means I have to approach it playfully. So I'm cultivating the experience of playfulness and then creating in that. That's a habit I'm trying to build. I'm not sure if I've successfully done that every day, but I'm still building my umbrella definition of what fits in that. What is a creation? What can I take in and say, oh, that was a victory in my creative play?
I'm going to say playfulness is an objective good.
I have already mentioned that I don't like to call many things objective, but for the sake of it, I have to agree with you.
I think it's one of the closest things.
It's really good. It's really, really good. When I think of playfulness, I immediately think of a child. When I think of a child, I immediately think of curiosity. I think of growth. I think of exploration. I think of psychological safety that is necessary to be able to play without worrying about what's going to happen around. I think of being very present with the game at hand. I think about bringing myself to the table while also figuring out what kind of a table I'm sitting at.
Yeah. And there's something great about how when playfulness meets seriousness, when you approach anything super serious with super playfulness, atomic explosion of laughter.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, I remember when I was in high school, so I grew up Jewish. Did you know that?
I do now.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people say I'm a quintessential Jewish boy, but that's not neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there because you're a man. You're, if anything, a quintessential Jewish man. Evidently. It's on the record. It's in the podcast.
It is on the podcast. If it doesn't get edited out, it won't get edited out. And, in high school, I was part of this comparative religions class, and we went to different synagogues, temples, churches, and stuff. And one of the sessions we went to, actually, the temple that I grew up going to,
Mm.
and we went there with a class from another high school.
Oh,
And I had
oh,
friends in that class that went to
oh.
the other high school, and we sat next to each other. And there I am in the stands, in the in the corridors of the temple, and
Mhm.
the benches.
Yeah, the pews.
Okay. And and we're sitting there, and I know all the good stuff things. I know the little things. And so I brought up the little service book that I found underneath the chair. We started going through it, and because it's such a serious place, and we were there listening to a rabbi and to a priest and to a pastor all talking about different philosophical approaches to leading a congregation. And there we are, just like looking through this little prayer book, and like not making fun of it per se, but making fun of the situation at large, and
Mm.
just making poopy jokes and farty jokes. And
Mm.
like I was almost, I haven't cried that much from laughter.
Mm.
I've cried, I've laughed, but I haven't cried.
Uh,
Like laughing so hard that I'm crying. And in that moment was one of the few moments in my life where I remember that I'm just trying to hold in my laughter to not be noticed,
mhm, mhm.
because it was so funny. We were just making fun of things, and in that moment we were approaching something very serious, holy, sacred,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the crudest jokes possible, and it
Mhm.
was hilarious.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's there's something about approaching seriousness with playful. That's why jokes at funerals are looked down upon, frowned upon, yet so easy to make laughter happen.
Right. Right. Well, what comes up for me as you're describing that is the correlation of seriousness to tension, that this is a very serious situation. Therefore, all of these things are off limits. And now I'm trying to live in a very unidimensional world, a very serious world. And that's a very tense situation for a multidimensional individual trying to experience life as a human, as we do. And so, the number one way that I've found to relieve tension is laughter. It literally shakes the muscles loose,
Mm.
lets air out of the body. Like there's
Shake
noise
the muscles
involved
loose again.
often.
Can you shake the muscles
Shakes
loose?
the muscles loose. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it is the relief for tension. And the more tension that I have, the more ready to release it I am. And so if you pop that little bubble with a crude poopy joke on the pews, the pews, if you know what I mean,
I don't know that
in
word, but we'll keep
synagogue,
pretending that I do.
then you don't know that word?
I don't know the word.
Oh, okay. It's the benches.
Don't explain it.
It's too
Or
late. I already did.
okay,
Now
it's a
you know.
bench. I'll try to use it. The
Now you know.
pews.
The pew pew pews. Yeah. Um, then yes. And so the thing is, I'm not a big fan of overly tabooed or overly serious situations. They happen. Yes. Funerals are very serious in general in the US because we have built this culture around the seriousness of
Yeah.
death and dying and how bad it is and how you don't want to do it and survive, survive, survive. Why, right? Fear based brings us all the way back to the beginning of our conversation. Fear is the propagation of survival. Fear is protecting ourselves from dying ultimately in some way or another. I'm afraid of abandonment because if I'm abandoned, I'll be off on my own. I won't have the right resources. I won't survive. I'll die, right? And so there's this taboo around particularly funerals that is, be serious. But in other cultures, people will celebrate the life of someone who's just died. And there is laughter, there is play, there's dancing, there's singing, there's all these beautiful, wonderful things in relation to what is otherwise a very serious situation. But so, seeing that possibility is out there causes me to believe that the seriousness is never really needed or warranted in the first place. even when I would, manage people in the workplace, I constantly cracked jokes or made fun or just found a reason to laugh because it's not so serious. And the more serious we are, the more tense we get, the more, minimized our vision becomes in what we're trying to do and focus on. But as we play, we open up, we be curious, we're more exploratory, we're more willing to celebrate the moment, to be in it, to do it, and then to actually come away with something really beautiful, a memory. Instead of stepping away from a funeral wanting to cry, I could be stepping away from a funeral going, wow, I really love that person.
That's the purpose of a funeral, right? Is to remember to process emotions, to make sacred an event that inherently is, in the objective materialistic world, kind of a nothing.
Mm.
But can we make sacred that event to bring closure to our psyche, to bring closure to something? I like to toggle between serious and play. There's something nice
Nice.
about that, right? I think there's something nice about, and I want to respectively disagree that when you are treating something serious, you create engagement. Now, yes, it can have toxicity when it's overly serious. That's where the tense comes from. That
Mm.
could cause burnout. But taking something serious can take ownership, responsibility, engagement, meaningfulness over
Mm.
something.
Mm.
And then can we also deconstruct that into a poop joke? Yes. I think
Yeah.
that is the back and forth nature of
Mm.
it
Mm.
that I think is fun. Because
Yeah.
if we didn't have anything serious, then actually, one, I think also seriousness has potential for more awe and beauty. And if we had nothing serious, then we wouldn't be able to reach the same heights in laughter because we didn't have something serious to counter off with that.
Mm.
I mean, how great is it to attend some sort of talk that everyone thinks is super serious, and then you're in the back cracking jokes with a friend, and it's like, mm, mm, that's good.
Mm.
That's where the fun is.
Mm.
It's meeting those two ends together.
Mm. Yeah, I like this perspective you have of kind of a moderated seriousness, a balanced seriousness, an appropriate seriousness, or even serious as a catalyst or a jumping point for the play to interact with, right? To make play that much more fun, that much more enjoyable. Um, in in the spirit of respectfully disagreeing, I don't think seriousness is a necessity for things like awe or wonder. um, in fact, I don't feel very serious at all when I'm usually in a state of awe or wonder. That instead, I feel like a baby. I feel like a child when I look at something and I'm just like, wow. There's not really anything serious about that for me. And so what I'm gathering though is that this now seems like we're getting at the difference of our unique experiences. And I have a deep value in playfulness because I experienced over seriousness. And maybe now at this point in my life, I'm counteracting that by saying, no, seriousness. Don't want to be serious. I want to play. I want to have fun. I want to be a kid.
Mm.
And I, in coming to this respectful disagreement, point out that that's okay to disagree respectfully, to
No, it's
be
not.
different and approach this separately, because I cannot be you.
Well, could you?
No,
Would you?
no, definitely not.
Eh, if you could for a day, would you want to?
No.
I mean, it's kind of cool, right? I'm kind of cool, right?
Um, I mean, I'll just continue to say I wouldn't be you for a day if I could.
Even one, I mean, I have a dog.
You have a really cool dog,
I have a cool
dude.
dog.
I might consider being him for a day.
He's asleep. He's chilling. He's chilling. I feel like this is a good spot right here.
Pretty good life.
It's a good spot right here. Noah, thank you so much for coming on board here. Um, we're going to conclude the podcast. We're going to
Wow.
conclude. I know it's a short little, we're doing short little tasty ones.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that.
I think I'd love to have you on again. We'll see how this goes. Um, I just want to say thank you. You're a good friend of mine. I appreciate you, man, a lot. And is there anything you want to leave me with, my many listeners with? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yes. A key element of my gratitude journaling is that once I filled up the page, I read it out loud. And in front of every line, I say, I am grateful for, and I say whatever the thing is. And then I breathe in, I breathe out. Usually by about the third thing, I've got a smile stuck on my face. And so it's important to me to outwardly express that with sound, with my vocal cords. So in this moment, I'm feeling called to say, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this experience and this opportunity. And most of all, what I'm grateful for in it is just how present I feel and how easy it is to be present with you in this way. So I'm grateful for the presence you bring to the space and for holding a space in which I can be so present, because that is it for me. To be present in everything I do, that's it. That's the sweet spot.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to take that out and make it into a ringtone, which I will have as my morning wake up. Though
Beautiful.
I also want to say I actually don't use my phone to wake up. I use an alarm clock, but it could be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it kind of makes it a good thing thinking about, again, reading out loud the gratitude, no time,
Mm, mm.
no time, no
No time.
clock watching, no timing it.
Mm.
Give it a try. I'll give it a try. We'll give it a try.
Well,
Noah, I have your information, and I'll do a little recorded outro thing probably. But thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
beautiful, delightful, and thank you.